Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. And today I am joined by Shinnel Paras. Welcome.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, I am so excited. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of background. I was supposed to have a quick call with Shinnel, just talk about what it is she's doing and whether she'd be right for the podcast. And we have literally just gone straight in because Shinnel's message is incredible and the world needs to hear it.
Thank you so much. 21 minutes in and I can't believe we're doing this right now.
Well, there's nothing like just, when you have an idea and when you know it's right, you just have to go with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Shinnel, explain what it is that you do right now.
So I'm currently a head of sixth form at a academy in North London, and I work primarily with students in year 12 and year 13. Teaching is definitely my passion. I love working with young people, particularly those who are sort of on a journey to leaving school and exploring what life has to offer. But recently I've been knocking on every single door because I'm just finding that, my work in school is fulfilling, but actually I'm not sure if I'm making the big enough impact that I'm meant to be making, that I know I can make.
And working as head of sixth form, I mean, you're fairly young. That's an amazing accolade. And how did you get into teaching?
Yeah, so I've been in teaching for 4 years now. I got into teaching through a program called Teach First. So Teach First is all about, getting the best graduates to work in the most challenging schools. And their sort of strap line is helping the most disadvantaged students. And at the time at university, I was in my second year and I just didn't want to be that person who was in their third year, just frailing around, not sure what to do. So I thought, let me just, apply for Teach First. I'm probably not going to get it. Let's just see what happens. And I applied. I had the assessment centre on my 21st birthday, imagine or not. And I was successful. And then it just all happened by accident. But it was clearly an accident that's meant to be, because 2 years later, after the programme, I was still on. And 4 years later, I'm now a head of sixth form. And I've just found that every year I've managed to work my way up the school ladder. Yeah, it's just meant to be.
So what does it mean to you to be able to help these students?
It means a lot, actually, because I grew up in a really disadvantaged area in North London, so Tottenham to be precise, and then moved to Edmonton. And I was quite lucky because my parents were very active in my education and provided me with the tutoring, the books, the vocabulary, the praise, which meant that actually the sort of status quo of what a student should be when they come out of education in Tottenham was not that outcome for me. And quite often, when there are students from disadvantaged backgrounds, when you look at the statistics, they receive significantly less praise than their private school counterparts. They are not exposed to books, they're not exposed to vocabulary, and so when they start school, they're immediately disadvantaged. And for me, the calling was, I need to do something about this. And I was on the front line, I was operational, and I could see with my own eyes as head of sixth form how them coming into school at year 7, how they're in such a time lag. And then by the time they come into year 12, their vocabulary isn't as strong as it should be. Their reading age at 16 is that of a 14-year-old. And for me, I can provide you with the best education. I can teach you and, plan these fantastic lessons. But if you don't have that foundation, it's not just about what I can do. It's now going all the way back now and seeing what we can do to even stop this problem from happening in the first place.
So what is your plan?
So I've recently, taken on a new role. And this new role is education program manager at Crystal Palace. It's a huge leap of faith for me because this is a part-time role. And I know you've got some listeners now who are like, what? Head of sixth form, full-time, young, and now you're going to go into a part-time role. But for me, when I saw the job come up, the focus was very much so on education and the character development of young people, particularly young boys, BME backgrounds, based in South London. And for me, that's the cream of the crop. Those are the diamonds in the rough that I really want to help. And so I've taken this sort of job part-time. And when I did accept the job, I was very much conflicted because I didn't know how I would fill up the other sort of days in the week, since I wouldn't be with a full-time job. And actually, on Sunday night, I sort of went to bed, and it was a real prevalent thought in my mind because Monday was the deadline to sort of accept this job or not. Had quite a restless sleep, but I woke up the next morning, on Monday morning, and this idea just came to me. And the idea was that, Shannel, you're passionate about character development. Shannel, you understand the social divide. You want to improve social mobility. Why not deliver a program to schools across London and somewhat the UK to help prevent this problem? And I texted my friend Shannel.
Oh,
Um,
Chanel, look at
yeah,
this.
she's
Chanel is
amazing.
Chanel.
Yeah, yeah, she's amazing. So I met her through property, but she's literally amazing. She's one of my best friends. Yeah, so I texted her, and with Chanel, I know I can level with her. I know that she'll give me, really honest feedback. And I said to her, Chanel, tell me if I'm really crazy right now. I'm accepting a part-time job, and I've just woken up with the idea to start this business to offer a character education program to schools in London. What do you think? And she's literally my number one fan. She said, "Oh my God, this is amazing." She said, "Let's do it." Because Chanel also has a passion for helping young people, and that's the same for me. I want to challenge that unconscious bias. I want to challenge the status quo. This was on Monday, and yesterday, so Wednesday, we had two schools confirm that they want to have a sort of initial call to hear more about the program with the potential of signing on. And it's been 48 hours, and it's just blown my mind at how quick this has sort of blown into just something that could be really worthwhile. And for me, just having those 48 hours reaching out to these schools, it just shows you how much of a need there is for character education and increasing the character currency of our young people.
And what a shame you're not passionate about it.
I don't think they can hear my passion enough, Amy.
And also, I mean, how is it that two people named Shinnel with an I and Chanel with an A, so
Yeah.
you literally have very similar names, and you're going to do this together?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't want anyone else to sort of jump on board with this, because I'd like to think I'm a very motivated person. I'm very ambitious, but Chanel really challenges me, and she really makes me step up. So yeah, she's the best person to do this with.
Oh my goodness, you girls are going to absolutely smash this. And what are you going to call this business?
So we came up with the name yesterday. The name of our business is called Elevate, with the strapline empowering potential. That's it. No bells, no whistles. It just does what it says on the tin.
And why is it important for you both to be doing this right now?
I think right now there's a huge sort of gap in the sort of education market per se. I think there is a lot of focus on academics and schools being this sort of system that just gets kids in at year 7 and just churns them out with, 3 A's, and they go on to these fantastic universities. But there's a lack in focus on, are these kids resilient? What's their mental health like? Yes, they're going to go off to university, but are they going to remain in university and complete their degree? And it's just those life skills of how to cope in the real world that is missing. And that's a problem that, Elevate will absolutely address.
And what will they do once they've worked with you? How will they sort of transition to become more able to deal with life?
So for me, the program is designed to uplift these students. So they'll sort of join us on this program, very naive, I imagine, and very much so not necessarily understanding what life is really like outside of this bubble of school. And Chanel and I, we've got 4 pillars to our program, which is professional ready, well-being, leadership, and enterprise. 4 pillars which are extremely key in terms of dealing with life. And the idea is that they will have a session a week for 12 weeks under these sort of pillars, and it will cover things like networking, how to network with people. It will cover things like mental health, personal leadership, conviction, setting goals, aligning your vision, all of the things which these kids are expected to know and understand, but are not actively taught it in school. So they're going to go through this exceptional program, and at the end of it, the idea is that Chanel and I will be able to see how much these students have grown, and that at the end of the program they will be more equipped and more able to deal with the challenges that sixth form and college life will throw at you, and also just life in general. Because Chanel and I, we did a survey with my students actually, and a lot of them, 70% actually said that sixth form does not prepare them for life after sixth form. And how shocking is that? As a head of sixth form, I love these students, but I'm doing them a huge disservice if they feel like I'm not preparing them for life after sixth form. So I have to do something else. I have to.
And what is it that you're looking to achieve on a bigger scale? Because you want to roll this out, you want this to be a standard that people adopt.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think starting small first to see, how to get the results and get the research and the data behind us. But for me, there's no limit to this. I think where I'm going to be working at Crystal Palace Football Club, I think the boys there will be great in being my sort of pilot program. But who's to say that this couldn't be rolled out to all the other football academies in the UK? But also a discussion that Chanel and I were having as well. But what about youth offenders who are in jail? And this could be part of their rehabilitation program. Who's to say that we couldn't then get businesses to sponsor us and buy into our vision and our sort of direction in what we're doing, and then they can offer mentoring services and coaching services, and just I think for young people, particularly those who are disadvantaged, those who are BME, they lack that cultural capital, and if we can provide that for them, so that when they leave at sixth form or when they leave at college, they have the best skills, the best experiences possible to compete with their private school counterparts, then why not?
And what do you think the other knock-on effects are going to be in terms of how these sort of children, these young adults, are going to live their lives thereafter having these skills?
I think the impact is going to be huge because, you've got kids at 18 who don't even understand what a mortgage is, or don't even understand that they have to pay taxes on their income, or don't understand that actually actions that they do today will have a consequence in the future, whether that's a year from now or 2 years from now. So I think shining a light on that and showing these kids that there is always a consequence to every action. Preparing these kids now with the knowledge, we'll be giving them a foundation to start with, and then at the age of 18 or whenever is good for them, they can then have that foundational knowledge and then explore further into that. So with particularly with schools, the I'm guilty of it myself because I've got KPIs, I've got goals to hit. We push university, and a lot of the time it's not necessarily the best choice for that particular student. But with this character development program, we will be able to equip them with the skills to be able to find what their passion is. So, those research skills, the resilience, the personal conviction, the setting goals. The university is not necessarily the route for everyone, but through this character development program, through Elevate, we can help them to find what their passion is.
So when you were in that interview and you were probably thinking, this sounds great, and yet you've got the security of a full-time job and you're taking this sort of big leap into a part-time role, albeit you filled up those other days. But why was it important for you to take that leap?
For me, I think if I sort of stayed in my current role, I just look at what would my trajectory be. So with the current sort of situation with COVID-19, it's likely that I would need to remain as a head of sixth form again for another academic year. Then I think, okay, assistant principal for a couple of years, deputy, and then head teacher. But within all of those roles, yes, I'm progressing, but actually there's still a glass ceiling. I'm still operating within someone else's remit. My impact will be there, but potentially not as great as I would want it to be, because again, I've got masters above me, I've got goals to work towards or objectives to hit. And so for me, I think really understanding that I am I've been given this gift of this passion, and there's not many people out there who have this personal conviction for social mobility. It was almost just like a calling. And yes, some may say I'm really stupid for taking this part-time role, but if I'm not going to do it, who is? Because if someone was doing it, this problem wouldn't be here right now. So I have to uplift the students, because at the end of the day, they're our future.
Wow, that's just incredible. What a mission to have. And knowing that this particular program exists at Crystal Palace Football Club, and was it something that they're pioneering, or does it exist in all clubs?
So I think a lot of football clubs at the moment are, having the informal education element, which is character development. But I think Crystal Palace definitely want to pioneer something that's completely different. in terms of what other football clubs are offering. And, if I can be the sort of driver of that, that gives Crystal Palace the unique selling point compared to other clubs. And actually, parents will understand and can see that, yeah, going to Crystal Palace and, being part of Crystal Palace's football academy is going to be so much better than if you were to go to another football club, for example, because of this fantastic character education, because we are preparing the kids for the worst. Because if they don't get that professional contract, then what happens? Are they going to revert to, gang violence? Are they going to revert to, having some withdrawal symptoms? Or, when you are passionate about football, filling that void, if you don't get a professional contract, what do you do with that time? So having this character development program will be able to equip them with those skills, equip them with those experiences, so that they can then explore other things outside of football.
I think it's a really important point that you make, because being told at the age of 16 that your career that you've literally thought that you were going to be for your entire life at that
Mm.
point, they then have that sort of crushing defeat of being told that it's not going to happen, and then they lose their identity in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. Amy, this statistics really, really shocked me, that of all of the students who are in a football academy in the UK, only 1% make it pro. 1%. So the other 99% of students who throughout their, teenage years have identified as a professional footballer and then don't get that professional contract, what do? And for me, it's definitely, again, a void that definitely needs to be filled.
So potentially there's some others that you need to reach out who've gone through that program already, and pull them back in and talk to them about what they're doing and how they've got over their disappointments and things like that. So there's a whole demographic of more people that you could help.
Yeah, absolutely. And calling on people who have already been through the system and using their experiences to educate the youth who are going through what these boys have already gone through is absolutely powerful. Because Shinnel Paras, you haven't been through the education program, you haven't been at Crystal Palace, but ex professional footballer has, and so it's more powerful coming from them. But if I can be that person to facilitate that relationship, then yes, I will absolutely do that.
And I think that the point that you made out getting in at this time, sort of 12 to 16, that's a really crucial part, particularly in boys when they're growing up, in terms of their mindset, and building on that foundation to take them through life is really critical.
Yeah, absolutely. I think boys at the age of 12 to 16, they're the most vulnerable or malleable. So getting in at that time where, you're able to shape how they think and influence the things that they do, it's the perfect opportunity.
And having met Chanel, okay, so let's just clear this for one more time. How did you guys meet? Because I know Chanel really well.
Yeah, so Chanel and I met at a property event. So my partner Kyle, he booked us tickets to this property event, and I assume it's the same for Chanel and her partner Damola. And we were on this 3-day property event. And the funny thing is, my partner and I did see Chanel and Damola, and they didn't want to give us any eye contact. I was like, oh, babe, these guys are a bit stuck up. And then on the final day, we ended up having a chat, and it just turned out that we had so much more in common than I had initially thought. And I'm so thankful for that event, and so thankful that, over those 3 days, we were able to have a conversation, because she's been, yeah, just a great person and a great addition to my life, and I'm sure yours as well.
Oh, she adds value to everyone's life who she meets. She's just the most incredible person, and by the time this podcast has come out, everybody will know who she is, because she would have shared her story already. So, and I know that both of you, it sounds like you've got such great vision, and the level of maturity that you're showing to make changes, because it's so important that if you have a passion for something, that you pursue it, because you can really create something incredible. And think of all these people that you're going to help, and the bridging that sort of inequality between the schools, and providing these kids with an incredible gateway for them to get out of education and into life. It's just fantastic. What a great job you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's really important for Chanel and I is to challenge the status quo, challenge that unconscious bias that for some reason still is embedded into our education system. And why is it that someone who's, Asian or Black or an ethnic minority from South London, Brixton, should not have the same life experiences or life opportunities as someone who went to Eton? It just doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, the kids are the most innocent beings on the planet, so we need to give them everything, all the opportunities possible. And I think where I've been on the ground and I've experienced it and seen it for myself, it's different when people talk about it and they're not in education, but having been there, having seen it, can you imagine you're in a year 13 business class, business is what I teach, and kids can't even read. Like, it just doesn't even make sense in my mind when I even say it out loud. And I think, yeah, it's 100% a problem that needs to be addressed. And I'm 100% faithful in my decision to take that leap, because if I didn't take the leap, who else would do it?
Well, I can't think of two better people to launch this program. So well done to both of you.
Thank you.
I wish Shannel was here as well to share this love for you both, because it's just incredible. So I just want to say thank you, because I'm very grateful to be able to share your message, and I'm grateful that we were just talking about it earlier, and it's suddenly straight away I launched you straight into recording it. But
Yeah.
I think it's the best thing to do, and I'll try and get it out as soon as I can. What would be your message to people right now, Shannel?
I think if you're listening and you are a young person, in education or not, and you've been told by a teacher or by anyone you've been in contact with that you are not able or not capable, or you're not going to be anything in life, I'm here to tell you, and I want you to hear me and feel what I'm saying, that you should absolutely disregard that, and you are absolutely capable and able to be successful in life. And, if you are moved by this podcast, I'd love for you to reach out, whether it's the capacity of working with Shannel and I via Elevate, or if it's, you participating or even being a speaker on the program, or just networking in general. I would love, love, love to, be in contact with you.
Thank you for listening to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson, and if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave me a 5-star iTunes review. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, and become a member of the inspiring, uplifting, and positive Focus on Why Facebook group. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.